which would often lead to screaming. And you know what's bad for business? The sound of somebody screaming in pain from inside your business. So barbers would encourage those that were waiting their turn to play music. They would put instruments in the waiting room for them to play, and they would sing along with like call and response songs and shanties and whatnot. And if they could afford it, they would hire groups of people to stand outside of their shops to sing for the passersby and cover up the sound of the screaming from the inside. And this is where barbershop quartets were born. And number 5, they ate mummies. Yeah, there's this factoid going around, I've seen it here and there, that there's actually a shortage of Egyptian mummies in the world, but it's actually kind of rare to find them these days because the majority of Egyptian mummies that have ever been found have been eaten by Victorians. For the record, that is a wild exaggeration, but it's also not much of a lie. So again, the Victorian time was this weird mix of terrible new ideas and terrible old ideas. So while some people were drinking irradiated water and causing their jaws to fall off, there was also this common belief going way, way back that ground up Egyptian mummies had medicinal properties. According to a 17th century physician, Dr. Robert James, mummies, or mumia, as it was known, could serve as a blood thinner, painkiller, cough suppressant, anti-inflammatory, menstruating, and promotes wound healing. So this falls into the category of medicinal cannibalism, and this goes back literally thousands of years. Way back in the day, it was believed that you would gain a person's strength by eating part of their body. In fact, when Roman gladiators were killed, people would often go down with scarves and soak up the blood and drink their blood to try to gain strength. And the mummy thing specifically, it's thought that it might have actually come from a bit of a misunderstanding or a mistranslation of the word bitumen. Bitumen, or bitumen, I've heard it pronounced both ways, it's basically the same as asphalt. It's this pitchy, black, sticky goo that is made out of hydrocarbons the same way oil is, so it's very abundant in the Middle East. And it does have some medicinal properties. It's antibacterial, so you can put it on a wound and it'll prevent it from
Spike down A.
So bitumen has gone by different names over the years, but it was a 10th century Persian physician named Rhazes that named it mumia after the word mum, which is the place of and that's where the term mummy came from, because when Europeans first found Egyptian mummies, they had this sort of black coating around them, and they assumed that it was this mumia substance. And they were right and wrong about that. Earlier Egyptian mummies were actually covered with resin, which would get blackened and harden over time. Now later mummies did actually use bitumen when it became more mainstream and it wasn't just oil. But it was the more sort of common people that were being embalmed with bitumen, which is kind of ironic because one of the reasons why people consumed Egyptian mummies in powdered form and everything, again, was because they thought that they were taking in their greatness, because they thought they were all royal. The bitumen that they were actually getting was from the mummy. And they also used mumia in paint to create a color called mummy brown, which I guess is better than having arsenic in it. So while they didn't eat most of the mummies in the world, they did definitely consume some Egyptian mummies, but there was a bit of a just mummy craze that went on in the Victorian days. After Napoleon invaded Egypt in 1798, he brought some mummies back with him, and this sort of stirred everybody's imaginations, went through this big whole Egypt phase, Egyptomania is what it was called, and mummies from Egypt began to just flood the European continent for the next coming decades. And this led to mummy unwrapping parties. You know that thing where you invite a whole bunch of people over and you sip brandy while you desecrate the actual human body of a person? It was that kind of thing. But no, these were pretty much exactly what they sound like. Especially high-level aristocrats would have people over. They would maybe show off some of the trinkets and stuff that came from the tomb that they acquired. They would pass around drinks. And then the main event, they would bring the mummy out, they would put it on the table and unwrap the mummy and eventually reveal the face. Some found this to be strangely beautiful, others were horrified by it. And it was also common to find jewelry and trinkets and bandages of these Egyptian mummies that was part of their funerary process. So they would take these little trinkets and just kind of hand them out at party favors. And some people made whole careers out of it, like Thomas Pettigrew, who was a well-known surgeon who had so many of these mummy wrapping parties, had unwrapped so many mummies over his time that he actually became a bit of an expert in it. In fact, he wrote a book called The History of Egyptian Mummies in 1934 that went on to become a big hit. Although in his studies of these mummies, he took the opportunity to try to prove that they were actually Caucasians and not Arabs or Africans, because
Last round before the switch.
Of course.
We cannot keep
You
our
mean
goods
somebody
active.
assuming that an
Then
ancient
all.
non-white civilization couldn't have possibly built great things? Glad nobody does that anymore. Egyptomania went on for a large part of the 1800s, but it did eventually begin to wane because the field of archaeology, first of all, it kind of became more regulated and not such a free-for-all anymore. And, you know, people just kind of get used to it, you know? Seen one mummy, you've seen them all. It's still all over Europe and the United States for that matter. Thousands of mummies have been unceremoniously displayed in museums and curiosity shops and sideshows, never having been returned to the tombs. But hey, at least they weren't
Spike
eaten.
down B.
So there's a lot more that I could add to this video, but I think you get the idea. You know, just like their engineering and scientific knowledge, their medical knowledge took huge leaps and bounds. Like I talked about Jon Snow in the last video, and how he was the guy who figured out that cholera was waterborne and kind of led to the germ-theory disease. Well, it turns out he was also one of the people who cracked anesthesiology.
Spike down
So for the
B.
first time in history, people could get surgeries done and not be in unbearable pain. And I don't think we can conceptualize what a big deal that is. I mean, yes, obviously it's less painful, but what that meant was back then people wouldn't get things done that needed to be done. Little minor surgeries that would be nothing today. Thousands of people died from regularly back then. And maybe an even bigger thing is the surgeons could take their time to get everything right because there wasn't somebody
Switching
screaming in
sides.
pain while they were doing it. Like before anesthesia, a good surgeon was the one who did it the fastest. Like that's all that mattered. And the fastest surgeon of his day, I'm going to assume of all time, was a guy named Robert Liston. He was famous for being able to amputate a leg in less than 5 minutes. His record was 28 seconds. But before you cheer him on too much, he also performed the only surgery in history that had a 300% mortality rate. Yeah, he was doing a leg amputation and he was going so fast that he accidentally cut off 2 of his assistant's fingers, and somebody watching got so horrified that they had a heart attack and died. And then later, both his assistant and the patient died of infection. So, yeah. 300% mortality rate. So yeah, who else is happy to be alive today? Of course, one of the biggest discoveries of the Victorian age was how to harness and manipulate electricity. This is something that took humanity thousands of years to understand, but you could probably figure it out in one afternoon if you check out the electricity and magnetism course. Learn all about Maxwell's field equations, which kickstarted the electrical revolution, as well as Coulomb's law, Faraday's law, Gauss's law. There's a lot of laws, but don't worry, this isn't a legal course. Brilliant teaches you with exclusive animations and interactive puzzles that make it all simple and, more important, fun. By the time you're done, you'll have a whole new outlook on all the electrical gadgets you have around you and a new appreciation for the electricity that powers. From there, you can check out Brilliant's other courses on everything from computer science to basic algebra to competition math, logic, scientific fundamentals, you name it. And if you haven't checked out Brilliant lately, there's a lot more to see, with new courses being added all the time and more interactive puzzles to make understanding the concepts easier than ever before. And if you want to get a taste of what I'm talking about, they have free daily brain teasers, and you can do the first section of any of their courses for free so you can see what they're all about. But if you do sign up for one of their premium subscriptions, it gives you access to all their courses, and you're one of the first 200 people to do so, you can get 20% off if you go to brilliant.org/answerswithjoe. It's just a great way to learn things, and like I said, they've been adding a lot of really cool stuff, so if you haven't checked it out in a while, now might be a good time to do it. So yeah, brilliant.org/answerswithjoe, links down in the description. Big thanks to Brilliant for supporting this video, and a huge shout out to the Patreon supporters, the Answer Files, that are helping to keep this channel going, keep the lights out around here, forming an awesome community, and just being overall really nice people. I got some people I need to shout out real quick. Got to murder some names. We got Desiree Gallo, Andrew Newton, Arv Svenning, Jordy Fitzgerald, Joe Coletti, Po T. Wang, and Theodore Wilson, old friend coming back. Good to see you. If you would like to join in, get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, and just be a part of an awesome
One enemy remaining.
Please do like and share this video if you liked it, and if this is your first time here, there's another one. It's just as good as this one, might even be better. It'll blow your mind. Google thinks you'll like it. They know a lot. Or you can check out any of the other videos that might come up that have my face on them. And if you enjoy them and you want to see more, I invite you to subscribe. Come back with videos every Monday. All right, that's it for now. You guys go out there and have an eye-opening rest of the week. Stay safe.
Barrier created.
Many enemies ahead. Enemy spotted A.
Reloading.
Reload.
A.
What is my life become?
One enemy remaining.
They said I could be anything.
Yumi, Yumi.
So I think